Oh, yes, absolutely.
This is going to be an exciting day.
Well, welcome to everyone. Hi. This is episode 4 of Knitting Around LA. I'm Judy.
And I'm Julie.
And today we're going to be in the car heading off to where?
We're finally going to the Knitting Tree LA. It's a favorite store of many people.
I think it's epic. I love it.
It's epic. It could be epic.
It could be epic.
Part of the reason is because they have a fiber art gallery right next door to the Knitting Tree. It's owned by Bruce and Annette, who own the Knitting Tree,
and we get to see them today, I hope.
Yes, I hope so.
Okay.
And we'll get to see the artwork that's in the gallery.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see the fabulous Knitting Tree and talk to some of their staff. And then hopefully we will get to the brewery around the corner. It's a local brewery. It is becoming very well known, especially among fiber art people, because this brewery, the name of the brewery
is
Three Weavers Brewery.
That's great. I wonder what the story is actually behind that. Why would they name a brewery Three Weavers?
I want to ask when we get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's an interesting one.
Okay. So.
Well, what do we have to chat about in the car today?
Well, first off.
And what are we going to call this portion?
What do we call this section? Oh, look, no traffic today.
No. Oh, right.
Well, okay. So I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
So, Jerry Seinfeld has this fabulous show called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. So we could be knitters in cars getting yarn.
No.
No. Okay, no.
No.
Okay, what else? Okay, so James Corden.
Oh, he's great.
Has carpool karaoke.
Yeah.
Well, carpool chatter.
All right, I can go with that as long as you don't say karaoke, because I'm tone deaf. So there's nothing I could sing. Anyway, what would we sing that would have to do with yarn?
Oh, wow. But we're not going to sing.
No. Okay, so we'll call it
carpool chatter.
Carpool chatter.
At least for now.
Okay. All right.
Until we decide to change.
Okay. And
okay. What else do we have to talk about, Judy?
Well, do we have carpool chatter?
Oh, one little thing, and that we'll pick up again later, is that. I'm sorry, am I going too fast? No. Is I finally have a full off-ramp.
Ooh.
Off-ramp, you have arrived at your destination. I'm wearing it. It's my white sleeveless top.
Yeah, and we'll see that in better form and its full glory later, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Assuming it has full glory.
Okay.
But yes, we will see that.
All right.
Oh, one little housekeeping thing. On episode 3, there was a lot of solar flares because we have my hand in the camera. We have the camera mounted on the dashboard of the car, and that's the sun coming in, and it's because we kind of leave at about, today it's 11, usually noon, and this road that's down the canyon heading towards wherever it is we're going, it's like a north and south road, so we're just heading into the sun.
Okay.
So, but
So please excuse that if we get it, and it's kind of nature.
But you know what I also was thinking?
What?
In the latest Star Trek movies, they've been doing that whole flare thing on purpose. So maybe we're just like, cutting edge in cinematography.
Oh, all right. Well, okay.
All right. So, what else?
Back to yarn.
Back to yarn and revisiting the socks that we will show later.
Yes, we have been having so much fun. I've heard it said elsewhere in blogs, it's not October, it's Socktober, and
it is for us.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
We're on board. We're just so loving it.
Okay, I did my thing where I got up in the middle of the night, and so I knitted while I was on YouTube, and I got on Etsy. And
that sounds like it could be dangerous.
It's the best best kind of danger. I'll tell you about it in a minute. And I got to 29 rows on my heel.
Oh, you stinker.
I know, but I have to stay ahead of you.
I know. I think I'm about halfway there on the
Okay.
heel. We're talking about the heel flap.
Heel flap on, our sock pattern is number 216, Beginner's Lightweight Socks.
On Ravelry?
It's on Ravelry, and it's by Knitting Pure and Simple, and we have referenced it, and we'll reference it again. I'll put a link to it again
Yes.
in today's show notes.
And
her name is Diane Susie, I think is her.
And if anybody wants to knit along with us, and you want to knit socks, please do. Use whatever pattern you like. You don't have to use the pattern we're using.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they could knit socks. I mean, supposing they have a favorite pattern and they want to do their own, as long as they knit socks with us.
Well, okay, if somebody's doing socks for Socktober, yes, knit socks with us. Show us the socks you're knitting.
Yeah.
And we're going to show some yarns that will be good for socks today, because
Yes.
I know the knitting tree has some yarns that are going to be really nice.
I may have to buy some.
Okay, but I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
I don't remember which episode. Episode 2, our socks were only about this big.
Yeah, like 2 inches.
And you were not that pleased with your yarn, and I saw the picture you texted, and I actually saw, and it looks completely different now that they're 7 inches. And so, how are you feeling about the yarn and the colorway now?
Oh, completely different. I love it.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and I think maybe we should have a discussion, and you're welcome, viewers, to join in, on this.
And leave us comments down below the video, and find our Ravelry group and leave us comments, because we're wondering what people's experience of this is.
Yeah, because when you're going to buy yarn and you see it in a hank or skein, and then you bring it home and you wind it, or they wind it for you at the shop. It looks different. It looks different when it's knit.
Yeah.
And I almost don't know how you can tell what it's going to look like when you knit.
Right, and that's where we would like to hear people's experience, because your yarn in the ball, I think, because on the outside of your ball or cake, it's a section where it's the lighter reds. But when you started knitting your sock, it was in a section where it was the blues and purples. And for that first 2 inches, that yarn
looked really different.
Almost read like it was a solid color with slight variations.
Yeah,
and it didn't look like the yarn in the ball.
No, and of course we'll show you stills and close-ups of this in our later segment.
Hopefully hopefully we'll show. Okay, so then once you got to 7 inches, more of those complementary colors, the oranges and the reds and the yellows, and little touches of green, and the blends between the sections of colors, all that shows up more, and it's a much more interesting sock.
Right, and I'm just really thrilled with the color now. I loved it when it was in the skein form. I wasn't so sure about it when it was round, and I wasn't thrilled when it was in the just ribbing of the sock. But now I really like it, and I can't wait to finish it, and I want to start on its mate.
Yes. So we'll start doing the heel shaping or turning the heels soon.
Yes.
And I'm going to start that within the next day or two, so that I can because I have a little more experience reading patterns and understanding pattern instructions, and so
I'll appreciate your help in getting me to turn the heel.
I'm like the tutor. I interpret.
Yes.
Yeah. So now, was that okay? A little that I want to drop in that we hadn't planned to talk.
Okay.
I watched almost the rest. I've watched a lot of that Yarn Hoarder episode where she talks about her sock machine.
Yes.
And it's fantastic. And I mean, I'm not even going to address the controversy.
No.
Because move on. But I think it's very interesting. So that machine is like a real knitting machine where you can adjust the gauge. Because you know my knitting machine.
You have a flap. You have a
No,
long...
my round one.
Oh, your Addy.
Yeah, you can't adjust anything on it.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, I haven't even tried the flatbed knitting machine. But you can adjust gauge and you can adjust it for finders. You can adjust tension. So that's what she's got. And it was really interesting how she was talking about trying to get that right and trying to get that balanced so that her socks were coming out consistent. And I loved when she showed that stripe, how just slight differences.
Yes, that was crazy.
In the tension in the
Yeah,
gauge.
that was really wild.
But
and folks, if you haven't seen it, this is someone called the Yarn Hoarder. And
episode 20, and we'll put a link to that actual episode in
yeah,
these
and check it out.
Okay. So, I was on Etsy. You know what I did?
Yeah, no.
Did you see in one of the last few episodes of The Grocery Girls where Jody showed her bags and how she's doing her own prints now, and it's all close-ups of knitted fabrics in all these? Yes. And she names them for the colorway name, I think.
Oh, wow.
And they're incredible. And I went on Etsy to buy one.
Yes.
And I ended up buying two.
Okay.
But that close-up knitted fabric.
So you went to Mrs. Brown's?
I went to Mrs. Brown's bags, which we will put a link to.
Yes.
If anybody doesn't already know about it. And there was one of the vendors who sells little bags and pouches and stuff at Stitches West had some fabric similar to that last year, and I didn't buy anything. I think I might have still been like a sensible person who said, I have so many project bags, I'm not buying another one. I have since lost my mind. And that was the day before I lost my mind buying yarn there. So I have since lost my mind, and so now I have bought two Mrs. Brown's bags.
Well, congratulations. I want to see them when they arrive.
You'll see them.
Okay.
You'll see them.
Okay.
So, well, we're part of the way. We're most of the way down the canyon, and I think, do we have anything else you want to drop in?
Not right now.
Okay, let's pause and catch them up somewhere else on the drive, and when we get to the knitting tree in Inglewood.
All right.
I have some of these somewhere.
They're so pretty.
And they're like really light, and they don't have sharp edges.
Well, wait.
Have you guys seen this?
What is
No. Are we on?
this? Yeah, we are.
That's to do a gauge swap.
A gauge.
It has the little teeth in there. So
It has what?
it
Teeth?
has these little teeth that will stay on your piece of knitting, and then you can do rows and
All right. I think we need two of them.
Yes, we do. I need to take one of those home. Because we're just discovering the joys of working with gauge swatches.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so here. Oh my God, Judy.
What else are you finding there?
What is that?
Anatomy of a sock?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know either.
I mean, it's in different parts of a sock. But what do you do with it? Is it just a keychain?
It's a keychain. Do you want me to explain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Come on in.
Come on
Okay.
in.
So this is a keychain, and it also has like Kitchener stitch.
Oh, it tells you how to do it.
Right.
Oh, yes.
So, and you can understand all the different parts of your socks. There's the leg and the cuff and all that.
Okay.
Just, oh, I forget how to do Kitchener stitch, and it's right there.
You have you just have fantastic. These are Knitter Pride, a set of repair hooks, repair tools.
I use mine frequently.
And I've seen pictures of this. It's a little
It's like a Swiss Army knife.
Army knife for
hook
crochet
set.
hooks.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you bring it with you when you're traveling.
Okay. And what are these? What is good about these little measuring tools?
These are magnetic. So if you have a paper pattern, you just put them on either side. It sandwiches your pattern, so you can isolate the rows that you're working on.
Yeah. I have other magnetic like.
These
aids
are
like
fun. These are you can create your own buttons with the yarn that you're working on. So if you want to make buttons to match whatever project you're working on, you just wrap the yarn around it.
Oh, those are great, and they're by Clover.
Of course,
All
we
these
love
things.
Clover.
Yeah.
Needle felting supplies.
You guys always have the best notions.
Oh, thank you.
They really are wonderful.
These are hilarious too. These little scissors. It's subtle, but they're actually legs.
Oh, I love it. Those are great.
Are they
I know you have other really cool
Yeah,
scissors
we
around here.
love
I've seen them
scissors.
before.
I don't know any knitters who don't like
Here's
scissors.
a cute
Little
cheapy
cheapies.
tape measure.
Ours-
Oh, this one's backwards.
And you know about gleaners, right?
No, what's a gleaner?
The gleaner's the best gadget.
What animal is this?
That's a cat face, I
Okay.
think. A gleaner is like a giant razor, and it takes all the fuzz off your sweaters. So this one has it's got 3 attachments, and let's see, you basically, like that. So,
so it gets the little fuzz balls
it's the
off.
best defuzzer of all of them that I've seen. And you've got light, medium, and heavy. But this one's my favorite. You don't have a fuzzy sweater on today.
It's brand new. It hasn't had time to pill.
Like this, and this one's just a lint remover, which I happen to need right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got
That's the
many
gleaner.
lint removers all around my house because I have a dog.
Oh my gosh.
Big dog. Okay.
These Wonder Clips are great when you're sewing together. We have just started carrying embroidery supplies, so that's what these are. Embroidery needles, thread heaven. Then you have your highlighter tape, jewel enclosures. This is a great little gadget. You put your purse on it. So you don't have to put all your bags on the floor.
Oh, and this hangs off the edge of a table or a bar.
Or a
if you're at
bar.
the bar and you're on the stool, you don't want your purse way down there on the floor.
Nope.
If you do that, if you go to
or
bars.
even here, as you're sitting to take your knitting bags up off the floor. So that just hangs on the table. That's a really cool thing too.
And that would be great for our yarn club meetings when we're at the
Guildhall.
at the mall or we're at some restaurant. Yeah, because I'm always putting them on the floor. I like that. I might have to own one of these as well.
Okay. You're making a collection here. Did you get everything? Did you see our little tags for when you knit something for someone?
Okay. So those. Okay, let's show them. Those are fabulous.
Yeah. So we have knitted by and crocheted by.
Oh, great. Okay. Why don't we pause and move on?
Hi, I'm Annette Corsino Blair, and this is
Chris Bales.
and we're here at the Knitting Tree LA.
All right. And what yarn is this beautiful yarn on this table you have to show us?
Well, we just got a new batch of 3 Irish girls, which I absolutely love.
Like, what's not to love?
Oh my God, the colors are
This is one of my favorite. This one is called
beautiful.
Terra Firma.
And it's beautiful,
It is. It's
even though
soft.
it's a neutral.
This is Adorn Luxe, and it's 85 merino, 15% nylon.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and being a neutral, we're gonna get into a little inside artwork talk here now. It's because it's a complementary neutral. That's what makes it work.
Yep.
You know, because
Chris is our color guy, but yet they have these as well.
and this
Super
is
popular
and this is
3 Irish
It's
girls
3
as well.
Irish girls, and this one is called Space Oddity, and this one is called Man on the Moon. And when they knit up, there's just little flecks of the
Little burst of
rainbow.
rainbow.
little bursts. So it's not like stripes or it's
Right.
little flecks. All right.
That
all
sounds
right.
fantastic.
You gotta love you some Irish girls.
Oh, they're
Don't
they're
you?
such wonderful people to work with. And
And are they actually in Ireland?
no, they're Irish girls from the East Coast.
All right.
We do have yarn from Ireland. That's hedgehog.
Oh, right.
But,
Hedgehog fibers.
They actually come from Ireland. But these guys are U.S. We try and support U.S. designers.
We support everything that's pretty.
Yes, we do.
Okay, let's.
So pretty. And yeah, they have these flecked ones too.
And this is 3 Irish girls
This is
still.
3 Irish girls. This one, she did a whole line of yarn around Prince and Prince songs. So this one's I Would Die For You.
Oh, great.
There is a funny one. What's it? Sexy MF?
Yeah, that's
That's
when
okay.
doves cry.
Yes, when doves cry.
Aww.
So they all have the purple.
Purple
and the
rain.
Purple rain.
Oh, wow.
Just gorgeous.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. So,
Another one I wanted to show you was one that we just started carrying called Old Rusted Chair. Now, you wanna
Okay.
hold some up?
Sure.
I just love these colors.
okay, great. Yeah, bring some around. And where are they?
She is based in Nashville.
Nashville, yeah.
Tennessee. So you can see that the colors are very complex and layered.
Oh,
They're
great.
just gorgeous.
And-
Try that.
What do they knit up like? Particularly like this one that Chris is holding.
Speckles. So yeah, this is speckles because the color changes are so small. You're only going to get like
Look at that one.
one stitch.
This one's called
out of
Lotto,
some of these
Lotto
flecks.
Fever.
God, love it.
And then some of them, like this is called Road Trip. When it has a bigger chunk of color, it's going to come out kind of camouflage. And then one of the colors, the gray areas, would have the speckles in it. So chunks of black, chunks of gray.
Okay, good.
Love her.
Love it
Beautiful.
all.
Yeah.
Soft as well.
One right behind us is the Neighborhood Fiber Company. I don't know if you're familiar with them at all.
Okay, let's move closer.
Okay. So this
Tell us about the Neighborhood Fiber Company.
This is a company we just started working with this year. They're based out of Maryland, and they're doing great things.
Oh, my God.
They even did a custom colorway for us called LA Live,
Oh,
which mimics the beautiful pink neon in
Right.
downtown Los Angeles.
Oh,
Right.
wow. That's gorgeous.
and it's a little more kind of coral and salmon where I'm seeing it on our camera right now. It just looks like super bright pink, but that is
Yeah,
a
it's
beautiful
corally. It's really
coral, salmon, pink. Yeah, but these colors,
Oh, the colors are amazing. Look at this one.
fantastic.
This one is called Rock Creek Park. They name them after neighborhoods in Maryland.
Right, I know where Rock Creek Park is.
Yeah, so do
yeah.
I used to live over there.
Yeah.
And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bases. So we've got the lace, soft, DK, worsted, and chunky.
Oh,
Wow.
that's great. And in the same colors.
Mhm.
That's great.
Yeah, we carry them. And then they have some kits. This is the Marriage Equality kit.
Oh, yes, thank you.
And then this one, just shades of fuchsia.
Oh, it's beautiful.
They have- And then they just started doing the speckly ones, which I love too, because they're a little bit different than most of the speckles out there. Just putting unusual colors together.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
hey, Jackie, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm good.
Okay.
The poor little dog makes it noise.
Okay.
He's like this. He's looking out the window.
Okay, we're gonna pause and then. Okay, so now we've discovered the Left Coast dye works.
And they're beautiful.
And yes.
And I get to pet him on camera.
Well, at least something made
Well,
from
The
that.
entire audience is going to be envious. But so Chris is the dyer of Left Coast
am.
Dye Works.
I am.
And I looked at your website, and so let's do some background first. When did you start dyeing this?
Left Coast has been wholesaling for about a year now. I've done my own dyeing for a little bit longer than that.
Okay.
A little custom dyeing for friends and special
Right.
people,
And
but
yourself.
big deliveries into shops like the Knitting Tree LA, about a year.
Okay, great. And I noticed on your website a reference to each colorway being a limited edition.
There are some that I can recreate. This one that I'm wearing that's called Bougainvillea. This is one that I do every single time.
Okay, great. That was going to be one of my questions. If you were going to repeat. Great.
Some of them have been real popular. Some of the ones that have been super popular are definitely limited editions because they're either very complex to do or they're very seasonal. Sometimes I just come up with a combination of colors that's the things that are the top 5 colors from the Pantone forecast or something like that.
Right. Okay. And then that shawl that you're wearing, that's all Bougainvillea. That's from the one skein? Because the dark is in there too?
This is 2 yarns. So the sort of fuchsia, I'll say, color is Bougainvillea on the base called Urban Tweed. And then the brown is on my Urban Classic, which has 10% silk in it, as well as the merino.
Nice.
And this color is called But First Coffee.
Oh, yes.
And unfortunately, I'm sold out of that in the shop here. That's one that I always re-dye because a good sort of solid dark neutral brown goes with a
That's
lot
beautiful.
of things. It's nice and
Yeah,
rich. People
yeah.
want to combine that with other yarns.
Right. And so besides the Knitting Tree, where can your yarn be found? What are the shops?
No
Can you
shops.
mention a
I'm
few?
in negotiation with some other shops. Right now, think of it as the Knitting Tree. Things that go up on my shop are limited editions that maybe didn't make it to the shop. Some test yarns will go up there. Sometimes it's just things I'm having fun with. One or two skeins will go up on my site, but big quantities, sweaters worth, because I dye 5s and 10s at a time.
5s and 10s.
Skeins worth.
5 and 10 skeins worth.
If I'm just doing one skein to have fun with color, it's
Yeah.
going to end up on my site and not here.
Oh, okay. So you dye 5 and 10 skeins at a time.
So when you say your site, so you're selling from your website?
Yeah.
Or from Etsy?
From my own site,
Okay, from your-
leftcoastdyeworks.com.
Gotcha.
Okay. Great. And so we're going to see you at Stitches West in February?
You won't see me individually, but you will see Left Coast Dye Works as
At the
being
Knitting Tree.
represented at the Knitting Tree. Yes,
Right.
I'm already planning on the things that are going to be dyed to go to Stitches.
That's good.
Absolutely. There'll be
Good.
one more delivery here in the store before the end of the year and another one by Stitches.
And then are we looking forward to Stitches SoCal?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah, always fun things happening.
Okay, and now we saw the Knitting Tree also at Vogue Knitting Live. I saw you in Pasadena and in Las Vegas. And are there any other shows that the Knitting Tree does?
There's one in Torrance called Weft, and you're going to have to check your show notes to know what
First
those stand
weekend
for.
of November.
I believe this year it's moved because I think there was a schedule conflict with Vogue. Stitches SoCal.
Yeah.
I think that ended up the first weekend. So they might be slightly
That's for
different.
next year. That's for next
That's
year.
next
I think
year.
they're
You're
still
right.
November
You're
5th
right.
this year.
For
But
2017.
2018, they're moving the Weaving and Fiber Festival out of November.
Yeah. Those are shows that Knitting Tree typically does.
Okay. All right. Great. Well.
What else? Let me.
Oh, okay. So here's another question.
Yeah.
All right. So we were talking earlier in the car about how the difference between how a yarn looks in the skein and then in the ball, and then it might be very different when you knit it up. Because
True.
Judy had a yarn that looked like this incredible variation, both in the skein and in the ball. But for the first 2 inches of her sock, it almost read like a solid color. So because I guess it was a long part of the dyed, yarn.
Okay.
There was very similar colors, And it was only after she knitted like 7 inches that she got
A
the
better
like the
representation.
very.
Sure.
So what do you think about that? What's your reaction to that kind of stuff?
Let's just talk about the way that skeins look versus the way that they're going to knit up. So semi-solids, I think this is pretty straightforward. That's going to look mostly orange when it's worked up. This one, because it goes kind of light and dark, and I'm going to open up the skein. When you see things that have kind of pools,
Yeah.
where it's sort of fuchsia and sort of orange, these typically will knit up like camouflage, I say. It depends on the number of stitches you have, but if you think about as you're knitting across, when you have this much of a dark fuchsia color, that you're going to make that many stitches, it's going to
Yeah.
go into another one.
Okay, so let's look at a part here, like one of this orange part. That's like a 4-inch stretch. How many stitches across might that be?
Now this all depends on your gauge,
yeah.
right? And particularly when you're talking about a sock, you don't have a lot of stitches as compared to something like a shawl.
Right.
When you have a shawl and you have longer rows, you've got more of an opportunity for those colors to change as it goes across.
But even a 4-inch stretch might not be more than a couple of inches, depending on gauge.
Depending on gauge. And then who knows what's going to happen in the next row.
Right.
I'm going to pull some monostel Uruguay. Lots of colors,
Yes.
sort of short bursts. This is going to end up lots of colors scattered all over.
Oh, okay. So no stripes.
No stripes.
And then, of course, the speckles, you're going to get
Speckles.
1 or 2. You might even have a half a stitch
Right.
that has the color in it. Yeah.
And this is pretty straightforward. The resulting knitting is going to look speckled.
Yeah.
Even though we see a whole bunch of these turquoise blue greens together,
It's going to be scattered.
it's going to look graffiti, spray painty all over, and people
Okay.
love that look.
All right.
Now, another Alegria, white background, longer stripes. Same thing as that, but think of it instead of spray paint as brush strokes,
Right.
because you're going to get chunks,
A few stitches
a
together.
few stitches
And
together.
they may or may not line up on the next row with the same
Exactly.
color. Yeah.
Now, let me jump back to one of these left coast ones. People always say, is this a gradient or does it stripe? If we open up the skein, this particular one, this is Yogurt Shop. Think about knitting as you're going across the row. So it's slowly going to change from the deep purple up to the cream, back to the sort of strawberry raspberry as you go.
So it's going to be, it's not going to stripe. It's going to be a variegated.
It's going to be a variegated, but as you go across the row or around a sock, it's going to slowly change from one color to the next and then back. It's going to work the way that you see it when it's in a skein like that.
And especially on a sock and a small item, you may get some really nice pooling.
You might.
And waves.
You might.
And, yeah.
And there are on Ravelry interesting groups for planned pooling where you could knit a cowl and make sure that it lines up from one to the other so that you'd end up with a cowl
Wow.
that was
Great.
cream on one side and purple.
Yeah.
The stuff that's in there is really
Oh, yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah, we haven't even really explored Ravelry that much.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rabbit hole, but that's why
Yeah.
we love it.
Yeah, it's true.
What else? What else can I answer for you?
Oh, well, that's most of the questions we have written down, and I think, what we want to do? We want to shop, and we may or may not turn the camera on, but now we want to shop. And we'll show you what we have.
You should shop.
Yes, not just for gadgets. But, yeah, we came here for yarn, too.
Well, and as I always tell people, shopping doesn't cost anything. It's when you actually buy it that you have to take out the credit card. And you have to squeeze these guys because, yarn gets lonely and it needs to be petted.
And
it really does.
Okay, well, then we got to do that. We got to do our
Due diligence.
fibery duty.
You do.
And we got to do our,
Great. Thank you.
Well, hello again. We did go to Three Weavers after the knitting tree, but we were not able to record there due to the audio conditions. And so we've come back to my studio. But like I said, we did go there. And so we have some images to show you of Three Weavers because it's a lovely brewery with some very nice beer. And it's actually in the same building as the knitting tree and the branch gallery. And it's in the same parking lot even. So take a look. Okay, and so that was nice, and the beer was good.
It was delicious.
And so now we have to show you what we shopped for at the knitting tree. But first, we want to thank Annette and Chris, and especially Chris, for that great discussion of color and the different types of dyeing in skeins of yarn. That was really a lot of fun.
Well, that was something that we've been discussing actually for a while between ourselves. And it was great to have him speak to it because he does dye yarn. So,
well, and with all his shop experience and knitting experience, he knows how to look at a skein of yarn and give a good estimate of how it's going to look. And this is not beer.
No.
It's tea.
And mine is just plain water.
Okay. So for what we bought at the knitting tree, because we had a great shopping trip at the knitting tree.
You always do when you go there.
Let's start with the gadgets.
Yes.
And first we have, do you have yours?
No, I left mine at home.
Oh, okay. We both got one of these wonderful swatch gauge measuring tools. And it's got a 4-inch opening, and you can measure rows and stitches with it. And it's got these nice little teeth where you can set it down on a swatch and it'll stay put. And I actually have used this because I had
You found it helpful?
Yeah, I took a row and a swatch gauge and a stitch gauge from my diagonal stripe top, the turquoise one that's in progress, because I had to figure out how many rows, how many inches, whatever, the increases and the decreases. And I was able to set this down on there and line up a row of stitches, and then line up a whole column going up of stitches, and then just count them right in the little slot. And the part of the reason I got this is I didn't have just one of your standard gauge counting things with the little 2-inch slot or anything. So I really am liking this, and it doesn't move around. When you set it down there with the little teeth, it isolates those 2 rows.
Well, and
so I was able to get a really good count.
And just recently on the Grocery Girls, Jody was talking about the necessity of making a swatch because of the fact that she had issues with how a garment,
an entire sweater, came out and did not fit, and she was making it for herself.
Right. So
that supports. I'm the one that kind of has been encouraging swatch making and doing that prep work up front.
You have,
so
and now that we were able to pick up a really cool gadget, and I think it's something that's going to be incredibly useful for me going forward, because I've never been a big swatch maker, and I'm hearing it from multiple sources, and it's important part of the process.
Especially if you're going to spend, this wasn't that expensive, especially if you're going to spend the money on these really, really nice yarns. $26 a skein, $30 a skein. Okay, so then another gadget. We did get a couple of these holder tubes. This is by Susan Bates.
Yep.
And I'm using it on my sock. It snaps. And why on camera is it so difficult?
She just...
On my couch in the middle of the night. It's not as... There we go.
She just did this a second ago off camera, and it was fine.
It worked perfect. Yes. But so you put your all of your double point needles in there with, obviously, you saw your sock sticking out. And you can close it. and it'll adjust to whatever size needles you have, and then you kind of turn it to pinch your work, and
keeps it from falling out.
Keeps it. So there, I got that, and I got one of those hooks for the table, the purse hook for the table, and I used it at Three Weavers when we were sitting there for a couple of hours.
Yes, but you also used it at the knitting tree.
Actually, yes. While we were sitting there knitting, while we were having lunch,
yeah.
And I have this bag that I carry 3 projects in, and it's not light, and this worked like a dream. So I'm very happy with this.
I didn't get one, but I might have to go back and pick one up.
Okay, is that all the you got something.
I got gadgets. I bought because I had to
Knitter's Pride.
I got Knitter's Pride DPN's size 2 for socks because I am so sock crazy, and you can see I literally just cast on, and I'm just so eager to knit socks.
Right.
So
I'm still working with my Knitter's Pride that I got at the Altered Stitch, and that. Well, we kind of have shown our socks, so should we just flow right into this?
I didn't show my big socks.
So this is where we are on our pattern, which is going to be as our sock knit along.
Which we'd like you to participate with us in whatever sock pattern you like.
We're doing number 216 beginners lightweight sock by.
There's my heel flap. I'm ready. Doop, doop.
What's it called? Simply Knit and Purl?
It'll
be in the show notes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have completed our heel flaps and are ready.
So proud of us.
To start.
Look at our socks.
Turning our heels. Okay. We also bought yarn at the Knitting Tree. Do you want to show? So this goes back to the Laura Lee shawl that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
That is, it's a 2-color shawl, and we both started out with these variegated yarns we thought we were going to use. I thought I was going to use this, the Van Gogh's Wheatfields with the blue velvet.
And I was going to use this from Forbidden Woolery.
And we found this is
Caribbean.
The mosaic pattern, and the mosaic design is not successful.
Well, it's not.
No, I mean it just alone. This is both yarns, and you can't
see it.
The pattern doesn't read. You can't see it. It is not successful with a variegated yarn.
And I was going to pair this and this, except that you can see that they're virtually identical. So here you'd be in a mosaic and would hit up with stitches in the mosaic that wouldn't read as different at all. So
you won't see the design.
No, so there you go.
Came to the conclusion we need 2 solid colors, which is how the pattern is knitted on how the pattern is showed.
So I went with this one, and then I picked a gray. They're both sparkly. And I thought, oh, great, this would be really nice. But
she fell out of
love with the gray.
She's just not that into it.
Oh.
So we put our heads together, and I decided to adopt this. This is the Forbidden Woolery, and this was I think a limited line with the sparkly called Pride. It was their Pride collection, and it was Pale Moonlight. And unfortunately, I don't think with the sparkly is available right now, but you decided to keep
I kept this one. This is a yarn from Invictus Yarns, and the colorway is Pixie, and it's a 20% merino, 5% nylon Stellatina. Oh wait, no, I read it the wrong way. 75% merino superwash, and then 20% nylon and 5% Stellatina. Yeah, I know. So I kept this. Stellina. Because this was really pretty, and I thought it was bright, and I was all about that. So I deferred to Chris at the Knitting Tree, and I said, come on, Chris, what could I use and pair with this? And we walked around and pulled out a lot of samples.
And
put
we
stuff.
tried every solid color in the store.
Well, we were looking for things that were value difference. So I think he pulled some yarns that had a lot of white content, that had tiny little bit of maybe blue speckles, and then we took something that was dark, but none of them really, really moved me. And we sat down
Show what you got. Show what you got.
and at lunch, and I said to him, you know what? I'm really feeling color. Chris, I want color. So I went out back to the yarns and pulled this awesome.
This is.
Yeah.
Do
this
you have
is,
the label?
I do. It's the Araucania and Nuble. And it's a merino and silk.
It's this just beautiful, rich.
Look at that. Isn't that going to be fabulous?
Golden yellow. And she's going to put that together with the turquoise, and it's going to be a stunning.
This is going to be the lace,
stunning shawl.
Kind of the bottom of the shawl, and it's going to be lacy, and it's going to have a little bit of more, I think maybe more movement possibly than the blue, which is going to be at the top. And you know, someone at the shop actually said, "Oh, are you going to wear those colors?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I love it." I'm like, yes, I want the color. I wanted it so much so that when I saw it, I was like, I frothed. I was like, that was it. I knew that's what I wanted.
So I adopted this from Judy because she doesn't like it, or
I like it, but
turned it over to me.
Yeah.
And I went all through the shop and just paired all these different things with it. And this is a Madelinetosh. And so that's going to be my
gorgeous
my
too.
shawl. And now the interesting thing about color is, with me, I'm evolving in my color choices. And I still will do a lot of things in bright colors, but I'm embracing more neutrals. And something like this, not necessarily
but
something super bright anymore. That's just.
Can I say that had I kept that gray, I kind of have gray envy with that color that you paired it with now with that Madelinetosh. I think it's really beautiful, and I think it's going to just be a knockout shawl.
Okay, so now we have the chance to love each other's shawls.
Yeah, we do that all the time.
Okay, so.
But I love her work, and it is very beautiful.
Okay, so let's look at. We're going to look at our list.
I have a work in progress still. Should I show it?
Show it.
Okay.
I got mine. It's out of reach a little bit.
A while ago, I've been working on this. It's a back of a vest, and I don't know that I've shown it recently. This is where I had been down here the last time, and I've knitted from there up to there, and that's a fair amount. That's a goodly portion of knit.
Okay, let's see if I can.
Can you do it?
If I can show on camera successfully slipping my socks into the Susan Bates holder tube.
It's working.
Don't tell it it's on camera.
Yeah.
Don't tell it I'm doing it on camera.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's okay. It's working.
Yeah.
Okay, so finished object.
Yes. Julie has a magnificent finished object for you to see.
I finished my white vest that I had so many challenges with. You can ask me how I resolved it.
Yeah. How did you fix that? Because you had issues with the neckline.
Stair-steppy thing. I discovered that to make a nice neckline, I really should have planned it and knitted it in. And then I also, as I did wash the pieces, and because I do believe in washing your finished items and wet finishing. And in the case of this, it needed it. The wash water was a bit dirty, so it needed to be washed.
It was dirty, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There are reasons why.
All right.
So when I laid, so what I ended up doing was I just sewed it on the sewing machine.
There you go.
Because when I went to lay the pieces together to, go about sewing them together and trying to decide ultimately what I was going to do with the neckline, I discovered that since I made this up as I went along, and I didn't really take as much time to plan out how to knit this front section. I worked on the lace design. You know, I sampled these so different pretty. Lace patterns and worked that out, but I didn't work out the side seam shaping. And then
how about the shoulder shaping?
Well,
yes and no?
I just neglected the shoulder shaping because on the back I did short row shaping and the shoulders were sloped. And then on the front, I don't know what, I think I just wanted to get it done and I just did it straight. So when I put the pieces together, they didn't match up. They didn't match up. And the side seams here at the waist, it actually bulged out instead of having some shaping. And in thinking about it, I decided that the least painful way to resolve it was just going to be to sew it on the sewing machine, and I did.
And that's you know what? That's great.
And I trimmed the excess and zigzagged the side seam, so it has become a cut and sew sweater.
Yeah, but now you're wearing it.
Yeah.
And that's fabulous, rather than being a project that you say, I don't know how to fix this isn't right, yada yada, and then it doesn't become
and struggling with it more. It was a matter of cutting my losses instead of struggling with it more to the point where I hated it.
Yeah.
But I have to say something.
What?
I was thinking later after we left the knitting tree.
Yeah.
You know, Annette complimented when we were eating lunch because after we stopped the camera, we had lunch in the knitting tree.
Yeah, we were starved.
And Annette complimented my sweater, this sweater, and I for a second, I almost had the urge to qualify it, to say, oh, but it's like I had so many and I did this many things wrong, and I was like, thank you. But I had the urge. I still had the urge to point out the problems with it.
Well, I think that's sort of. I know. I can feel that.
We'll always have the.
Yeah,
so you got to just fight the urge.
We are always aware of the errors or mistakes or oops or whatever in your work. And others, you've said to me, they're not. They don't know it.
They don't know it.
And
they don't know it. Don't point it out.
Don't
and she was saying, that's beautiful. And then,
yeah.
Oh, that's right. We've just come from the knitting tree, but somewhere in this space-time continuum, I had time to wear this to work. And people wanted to take my clothes. I go into work and people say, I want your sweater. I want your shawl.
And that's a lovely compliment.
Yes, so that's awesome. Nice. So do we have anything else for today?
No, I don't think so. I think we're good to go.
I mean, I have.
I think you showed that.
When did I show? So this was when I showed this part.
Yeah, well.
This is the yarns I'm not going to use. And then I sampled this gray with the blue velvet. And that's
But that's a different gray than what she's going to use.
Yes, it is. But this was how I knew that the two solid colors, one light, one dark, was what's going to be successful. And I still use the blue velvet in my Waiting for Rain shawl that I'll show in the next couple of episodes. So that's what that's going to be. And now we need to get on with turning our heels.
Which we're not going to do on video. We're going to work at that, ourselves. Julie's going to help me a lot. This is my first heel turning, my first sock, and I got a lot to learn. But we'll come back and we'll show you our progress.
So thank you for joining us again, and please subscribe and look for information in the show notes, and leave us a comment. We tend to ask the audience a lot of questions, and we keep coming up with a lot of these knitting philosophy questions, and I still haven't counted my projects, so we don't have the answer yet to the question of how many projects is too many,
or if there's such a thing as too many
have
projects
going at one time.
Are you a monogamous knitter, or
nobody's monogamous?
I'm not.
No, I think you get monogamous for like some
burst.
like some married men. Right. You get monogamous for a while just to get something finished, and then you go on with all your liaison.
Yes.
So, and look for us on Ravelry, and once again, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Purl 2 together.
And then you should have one left to purl.
Yep.
All right.
All right, now we're supposed to have 18 stitches.
Oh, are we? Okay.
There are 18 stitches on the heel needle. So
okay,
let's count.
I got 18.
Look.
All right.
Look at the cute.
I know. Look.
Who would think that they could be like little? It's like a little cap.
And I mean, it's a heel. Look.
I know.
It looks like your little heel goes right in there.
Look. Oh my God.
Okay, so now what do we do?